Okay, hello everyone. I will present me really shortly. I'm Sandra. I'm actually from Germany, but I live and I work as a data visualization freelance in Spain, in Madrid. And I don't want to talk a lot about me because I have so much to tell, and we have only 30 minutes, as I know, so I will try to talk also really fast to give the most of it to you. But I'm really happy to talk after the talk with you. If ever you want to chat about something, I will be around. So, visual storytelling. I mean, I can't see you anyway. I wanted to ask who knows about this topic, but as I can't see you, I will just start. Okay, most of the time we have the situation that people come to us, let us say in the business world, in the university world, that we say, okay, tell me something new, something interesting, but actually I don't have time. So the problem is we need to do it really fast, no? And on the other hand, we have so much data. But you can actually, with the visual storytelling, you can just say, well, here it is, here are the data, just look at it, there's the story, there you get it. Okay, so now you say, well, that sounds really easy. And it's, of course, not so easy. And the thing is, if we only focus on data, that's why some people also call it data storytelling, we actually have the problem, I mean, I assume you're all Python programmers or you work with data all the time. If you just look at these tables, you won't see anything. And because we are living in a world of big data, we even are more lost. So that's why it's actually the visual part which makes it so interesting. And that's why we call it visual storytelling and not data storytelling. So what are the objectives? Well, the most important objective, I think, is always, as I said, all this data is absolutely nothing if we can't get the story, no? But we have different approaches. So in the business world, it's most of the time showing results. And I will, just to let you know, I will make a mix of, right now I speak a little bit more about the theory, but I will show you a lot of examples, because this is something you learn only if you look at examples. And if you look at all the really great ideas the other people already had and they put into practice. So this example I will show you later. And then, of course, the most interesting part of the visual storytelling is actually to explain our complex world. And I don't know if you have seen this example, because I think it's one of the most famous ones in the visual storytelling world. And who has, well, I can't, yeah, you know this? Okay, and you like it? Yeah, I guess so, because the thing is, you know, I assume the audience here is familiar with machine learning, but most of the people are not. And most of the people are afraid to even ask, because they think, oh my God, if I ask, then people will explain this to me in a really complicated way, and then I even understand less. So with this visual storytelling, what they did is they made a small text. Okay, we need still text, but actually only looking at the visuals, we understand what's going on. And in this example, they said, okay, what's the difference between houses in San Francisco and New York? How can we analyze this, no? And the first thing is always intuition. So what do we think? What's the main difference? And they say, okay, because San Francisco is so hilly, maybe it's the way, maybe it's the way houses are created. So just looking at this, we see, okay, intuition seemed to be a good start, but the problem is we have so many data and we have so many variables, and how can we be sure that it's really this? So maybe we should add a new nuance, no? So what we see in the visualization is directly representing what we are doing in our thoughts. So we go one step further and we have a new layer, so we have new dimensions, and then what we see is, okay, we have the price per meter and we have the general price, and we see, okay, here are some houses which are really easy to characterize in the San Francisco world, and then here we have the New York, so we can draw the boundaries and we see it directly visual. But this is also not really enough because we have so many variables. And I don't want to tell the whole story now, but what I really want to show you is that just by looking at the visuals, you can actually understand the whole flow of the analysis and of the thinking. So now we have what he's saying, let's switch the boundaries. And can you see how the visual is also switching? And then he's saying, okay, the problem with all this is we want all this information, but we as humans, we can't process all this information. And that's why we actually need the machine learning, no? And then he explains how a decision tree works. So in a really easy way, first, so just say, okay, let's take the first variable and say how many houses in New York have this value and how many in San Francisco. And you see, let's focus first on this side and then on the other side. And then, and this is the best part of this project, is we build the decision tree visually, we see it, and we go down, down, down. And then, of course, what is new in machine learning is that we actually use training data. And how can you visualize training data? So just by this, no? You just let your data flowing in the model you created. And so what I want to show with this example is how all the visuals are really explaining already the story. And they go step by step by step. So this is one example to explain models. But then, yeah?
Is there something similar with neural networks where they understand?
I can actually, I don't have it in this presentation, but in another presentation, there is a new field of visualization which is called algorithm visualization, and it's only visualization to explain algorithms or to explain complicated. And there is a web page, I think it's called Explain Visually, and they have already they have 20 projects, and maybe there's one, I don't know if there's one about neural networks, but I'm sure it will come soon, because this is a new field which is growing every day. And then we have also, it's not only explaining, showing results, it's also provocating, yeah, because we use also visual storytelling, we use it a lot in the data journalism world. And this is a wonderful video, which I can't show you now because it's 20 minutes, but you have to watch it. There's no way around it. And it's actually, I don't know if you know it, it's about the Second World War, and it shows visually, so if you, I don't know if I have the, no, okay, cool. So you just see all the time what's happening, and the guy is actually talking.
Civilians.
Well, yeah, I don't know. And you see with all the visuals all the time showing what's happened in the story, but the story are only data, and the data is only represented by humans because it's about how many people died during the wars. And it's a really wonderful video to reflect about, oh my God, what happened in these years. And also, I think what most of the people don't realize is what a wonderful world we are living just now, making a comparison. And there's 1 minute, the 6th minute, you have to watch it because it's really, it makes you really emotional. So it's also about reflecting about the topic, yeah, and provocating. But in general, the idea is always to improve the communication, because the problem we have is we have data and we have data scientists, but most of the time the data scientists are doing the models and they process the data, but then we have other people taking the decisions. And the problem between these two guys is that they don't understand each other, no? And I think they don't want to understand each other, which is fine. we don't need to get along with everybody. And that's why we have visual storytelling, because as I showed you, the machine learning example, you can show it to a data scientist and he will be fine because he feels familiar with the statistics he sees. And you can also show it to a business person or to a marketing person, and he will more concentrate on the, on the colors or on the general flow of the communication. Yes.
Why can't you make data science?
Could you write the question into Slido?
I can't connect to the internet.
The internet.
Oh, I'm sorry. So actually.
Sir? For me, it's fine.
Why don't you make data scientists to do decisions?
Well, because my experience is most of the time these people don't want or they don't know how to explain. This is most of the time the experience. I have a lot of friends are data scientists, and I teach also, and when I ask them, do you want to teach? They're like, no, I like only to do my models. And on the other time, I understand this because it's quite difficult to be in this complex world and translate this complex world into a world which makes it understandable for everyone. This is a skill on its own, which we see here. I mean, I can show this example. I don't know. You might be able to do this decision tree, but you might not be able to do this visualization, which shows how it flows. Does this answer you? No. But, I'm sorry?
I will ask you later.
Yes, I think that's because there's so much still to come. Okay, the audience, of course. Most of the time, all these examples I have here are internet examples. So if you produce something for the internet, you don't know really who will watch it, no? But if you already have some knowledge about, so for example, I had the feeling that at this conference, the people will know a lot about programming and analytics and less about the marketing part. So I take this into account and try to adapt my presentation and also try to adapt your visual storytelling in this way. Use colors, use things people feel familiar with, you know? And on the other hand, expectations. This is something which also goes wrong so often that in the data visualization world, we have most of the time, people are just calling for dashboards. And they do dashboards with 100 variables, because I feel sometimes in data visualization, we are still behind. We are at this stage of, oh, we can do everything, so let's do everything. No, this is not what we need. We need actually to put ourselves in the user and in the what do they want? Do they want to explore things, or do they just want a number and say, okay, this is the final prediction, for example, and this is the only thing I need to know. And visual storytelling also adapts to this. I show you now some concepts how you can adapt to these expectations. So how do you create? It's actually really easy, because there are only 4 steps. And nearly all the examples have these 4 steps. So the first thing is define the context. Where are we? If we go back to the machine learning example, the context is just, okay, I want to introduce to you machine learning, but I also have the question, what's the difference between houses in San Francisco and New York? Okay, that's the context. And it's important to say this, because some people just start directly explaining numbers, and then you feel lost. And then the second step, which also so many people forget, is making the easiest example you can think of. Because our world is so complex, and we also want complex things, we sometimes feel like overwhelmed. And when you start a story, so you're in the context, and the first thing is you need to just get the people with you, you know, and feel like, oh yeah, I understand it. So for example, in this, coming back to this example, the first thing is something everyone will understand. It doesn't matter if you're a statistics person or if you're because it's something human. And this is really important to connect with the people. If you don't make this step, so many, I don't want to, but so many people in general forget this step. Yeah, they just start directly, our model, blah, 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 and people are totally lost because they don't even understand what is the model about. So really start really easy. And then you need excitement, because if you don't have excitement, which also happens so much, I worked in quite a lot of companies, and I've seen this everywhere, all over the world, and different companies, they just show 100 charts, the same thing. So now these are the numbers for brand A, brand B, brand C, and I don't know, the people are sleeping in their heads with the eyes open. You see it, because there's just no excitement, and there's no, what are they talking about? Okay, so this is when you just do easy examples all the time, and you just repeat. So you need excitement. And how do they do it here? Well, they go step by step, but then they have this, okay, and now machine learning. This is really like this. okay, here I'm fine, and now, oh my God, now it will happen, no? It's like, oh, how can I get prepared? And then later on, they do the same stuff again when they say, let's make the reality check. Yeah, it's like also something like, okay, now let's use this and see how it actually works in the reality. And then the final step is just a resolution. So also not letting the people in this creation, in this excitement, but taking in the end all the information you had and make a summary, which sounds maybe also quite simple, but most of the people forget this step as well. And they do it actually, in this example, they do it in a really easy way. That's the only criticism I would have, because they just make a recap like this. You could do something more visual in this way also. Okay, so these are just the 4 steps. And then, well, this really quickly, in the practice, we have 2 types of people that should work together, which is also something why now it's changing, but in the past we had most of the time, let's first analyze and then visualize. And this is also, and that's why we have so many dashboards, because people only think visualization is in the end, to show some numbers. But actually, the most interesting part is if these guys work together, because then you analyze, you visualize, and you analyze again, you make changes, and you visualize again. And with the visualization, you can actually analyze. Okay? So the language, what do they use? And what I see now is, I'm in the visual storytelling space, let's say, already for 2 years. And the first year was quite boring because it was just what we already know in presentations, do it in a web page. But what is happening now, people becoming more and more creative, no? And what we see is that people really start using visualization as a language. So for example, this is a wonderful project. What he does is he said, okay, there are a lot of different how you say, like these art books, for example, and he tried to transform it into visuals, which tells the story of this book, let's say. And what he did is he said, okay, let's take the whole text of the story and make colors represent the people by colors. So we have to think, okay, in our story we have actors, and in visualization, we have visual encodings. So how can we connect these 2? And he said, let's give every person, every actor, a color. And then what he's saying, we put it in a line so that you see visually, it's again, yeah, okay, the text is what is happening in the story, but how can I represent visually what is happening? So I want to show the length of what one person is saying. So I just put it as he shows here. I put the whole sentence together and make it like a line, yeah? And then you see the whole act, and if you click to an actor, you can see, well, maybe it's a little bit slower. Yeah, and then you can see where this person is represented in the story. So this is a really nice way of really translating I don't know, a book or whatever, into something visual. So we only have the visualization there, which is showing the pattern and the representation of the actors in the book. And the nice thing is, once you've learned, this is also something quite new, you have to learn these new visual encodings, then you can actually compare. And you can see that, for example, in the time machine, you see that there is just really a few actors, and there's just one who is dominating everything. And because you translated these books or these stories actually into visuals, you can now compare them easily once you've understand the visual encoding. Yeah, so one way to really easy find a visual story is use colors for your actors. So choose the variables which are most important, the same they did here actually, and they did it in a really subtle way, how they introduced their actors, because they only used colors there. You see, like San Francisco is green and New York is blue, and then they never ever mentioned San Francisco and New York in the visuals. This is like minimalizing also the information you have. And then you have another way to speak with visuals, And this is like using shapes for events. So this comes actually more from the infographic world. I assume you are familiar with this. So what you do is you create a visualization, whatever. So in this case, for example, it's the holidays of this person, and you have the different months, and then you go and see if it in which month it was and in which year. And then she uses here some icons to actually show what is happening. So if she went with her father or with her boyfriend, or if it was with others, if it was a sunny holiday or whatever. And this is really nice because it shows us what is happening in terms of events. Because we have stories, we have actors. Most of the time we can use colors. And then we use shapes or we use icons to show events in our story. Yeah? And then the most important part is actually patterns are stories. So once we have done a really good visualization, the nice thing about us as humans is we always try to find a reason in the things we see. So if we see a visualization, we always try to directly understand, why is this outlier there? And this is already a thing. Most of the time people delete outliers. Outliers are actually a really nice source of stories if they are not if they are not a mistake. But sometimes there is something going on. So looking for patterns is the best way to find actually your stories. And we have here another example where this guy, he visualized how he played the game Scrabble with his father and his mom in the last years. And he explained, this is also what I mean, this is this new type of visualization. So you use absolutely new visual encodings, which you explained once in the beginning. So he says, okay, a high score is if the line is really long, and if it's a really big point, this is a high score, no? And if it's a smaller line and a small point, that's a small point. And the thing is also what you see here, it's called redundant visual encodings. This we see in visualization also a lot. Most of the time we don't like redundance, no, in our world. In visualization we like it because it makes it even more easy for us to understand things. So if we use two visual encodings, like the length and the size, we will understand and see patterns even stronger. And so in this case, we see, for example, at this game here, there was something going on with him, no? He made 4 really, really good moves. And like just showing the whole year, you understand, I mean, it's a funny thing. It's not something related to business, but I think it's really nice how you can visualize and then make a story around how we played Scrabble, no? And then he has some more visualizations, how to show who has won, and so on and so on. But what you can see is just by visualizing it this way, you are able to discover patterns. And another really nice example is this one, where they decided they wanted to show the structure of a city, but represented by the geographical view, but mainly focusing on the roads, you know? So they defined here their visual encodings and said, okay, we only use colors, actually. We make it really simple, and we have only colors. So we have the main roads are the red ones, and then the less important, they have more orange and pink. And they show here how they made it. You know, they looked first and what's the general geographic representation, and then they tried to extract the most important part and then apply the visual encoding, so the learning. And when you then understand the visual encoding, you can then just compare easily all the different cities, and you have a pattern for all the different cities, and you can see all this information combined. Okay, concepts. So this was how we created, this was the language, and now there are some different concepts. So in general, we have 2 extreme ways of telling a story. One is, I'm the author, and I just want to tell my story, and you understand it, and you follow me. The machine learning example is absolutely author-driven, yeah, because we have no interaction The only thing the user can do is scroll. Yeah? I can't change the story. And on the other extreme, we have the viewer-driven. And viewer-driven means the author only presents me a visualization and explains to me how the visualization works, but then I interact and I find my own stories. So that's why author-driven is one story. There are different messages, but it's really linear. It's like a book or it's like a movie. It's really linear, and it's really efficient. Yeah? So if I really want to make a point, then it's better to just use something similar to the machine learning, or the video, the Fallen video is also really author-driven. But if I don't know what's going on, and I actually would like to make use of all this world and all the people that are in this world, I create an interactive visualization and let it go out, and let's see what the people come up. So it's discovering story. There's no message, it's non-linear, and it's interactive and open. And within these two extreme approaches, we have three concepts right now. One is it's called storytelling. I come to this in a moment. It's really author-driven. It's like the machine learning example. Then we have on the other side, the other extreme is drill-down story. This is, I will explain to you, but let's say it's really an interactive visualization. And in the middle of them, combining the two, is the Martini glass structure. So let's start with the storytelling. Why is it storytelling? Well, actually, it's because they made a study and they found out, I don't know if you remember, but in the past, the visualizations we had, they were most of the time with click. But the problem is we are really lazy. And even a click is already too much. So the people don't click. Yeah, so they, oh no, I don't want. I just go to the next page. But if I have scrolling, this is also interesting. We have this inside of us, we want to see the end. We can't stop, we want to see what's happening in the end. So that's why now everyone, also the web pages, everything is with scrolling, no? Because it just works better. And in this field, they use it a lot, this approach, they use it a lot in the data journalism world. I don't know how much time I have, that's why
It's okay.
Yeah, okay, I will go. Okay, then just to let you know, this presentation is public, and all the pictures have links to the example, so you can always check them also later, yeah? So in the data journalism world, well, just to make it short, because talking is not as efficient as showing, is you see, like, for example, in this, they said, okay, how many liters of water do we use every day, no? And then they use, like, these kind of visualizations to show how much is it really, no? And then the story goes while you're scrolling. And then, okay, they understand, and then comes the next one, and so on and so on. And then there's actually a new approach, which is called visual essay. And it's structured as an essay, but we have all the time the visualizations that makes the story flow, as I don't have so much time. And just this example, because it's wonderful, and it's coming also from the analytics world. It's like, what's this? Okay, it's like a typical prediction model, no? For, okay, what is actually warming our world? And most of the time in this, people do prediction models, and then they just show, I don't know, the numbers or whatever. And I think this is a really nice way to show how you can visually tell the story. So this is our line, and we see clearly, because we are all understanding lines, there is something going on. It's going up in the last years, something is going up. So they start using different factors they thought that would influence in this. And what they use is, they just show how the lines involve. And then, and this is the interesting part, because we all understand visuals, we all understand that this line has nothing to do with this line. So we can all understand, but just by looking at the visualization, no relationship. And then he's doing the next thing. And you see, this is also the easy example. As I said before, no? Context, easy example. And then he said, okay, it's the sun. No, it's also not the sun. And then it's Valkonans. No, it's not this. Maybe it's the three. So now he's creating some tension, yeah, some excitement. Maybe it's all of them together. No, also not. And then, well, this is for me a little bit the boring part. He's actually going on with this, which I think is not so useful because you see the story is actually not so going so well. But then, suddenly, he realized, oh my God, it's the greenhouse gas. And this is something we wouldn't have expected, no? So, and you see, or some of us, I don't know, but what we see is we have the two lines together. And I don't need to say anything. I don't need to say there's a relationship because we understand in a visual way there is. Okay, so this is, and then of course the final thing is bringing everything together. To end the story, we have to bring everything together. So, and then we have the Martini glass structure, and this is just combining the two contexts, the two concepts. So we have the context, we have an author story, and then we open our visualization. Is it? Okay, then you have to watch the presentation online to see it there. Actually, oh, there's so many wonderful examples, I don't know. But then just, do I have to finish now? Then I just want to see show them the video. Yes. Okay, you have more examples here. Go inside of these examples. I mean, also contact me if you want. I give also courses if you want to find out more about this. Just a must-have. Every visual storytelling needs personalization. So speak about what is important for you, how you feel. Then beauty, don't forget this. So many people forget that we like to see good things. We don't want these car-crashing colors anymore. Yeah, so make your visualizations beautiful. And the last thing is emotion. So we need to connect emotionally. And there, have you seen this video? One person? Okay, then it's fine. This is still one of the best visual storytelling examples. And what it does is, I just need to explain shortly the context is, okay, they wanted to provocate reflection on how many people die every year just by using guns in the US. And so they made a lot of analysis, what is in the data. But then suddenly they realized it's actually not what is in the data, it's what is not in the data. So what they mean is they made an estimation of how long would a person would have lived if the person would have not died at this moment. So they created a line saying this is the life of a person. And when this person is alive, the line is orange. But then when this person was killed, this person would have lived, because we can estimate it with statistics, so this person would have lived longer. And then we see the line going. How many lives are lost? How many years of life are just lost because of the guns? And in this example, I want to show you just because it's really nice how they connect with the user through emotions. Okay, how do we do?
Just play the video.
But maybe, I don't know if you see it, because it's really blank, everything. You can't switch off the light, no? Well then. Okay, then enjoy. I hope it's loud enough, because the music is important. Yeah? I don't know. Can't see, no? I can't really see. Well. Well, you couldn't see it so much because it's really dark. But now he's showing how to interact with the visualization. So this was this Martini glass. And what you've seen is these lines and lines and lines. This is actually scaling emotions with visualization. Yeah? It's like making it bigger, making it faster. This is something emotionally that affects us. Okay, so if you want to know more, I don't have more time, speak to me, and thank you very much.
Okay, yep. This will work. Thank you very much for a beautiful speech about data analysis and visualization. We will have time for 2 questions. Sorry about that, but this was important. So the first question is, what program do you use to visualize the data? Why is it so beautiful?
You ask me?
Yes.
Well, most of the time I use D3, and we are really expecting Express. I don't know if you heard about this. But there's also Carto, which is really good for maps. I don't know if you heard about Carto as well. Because the good thing is, I like, as everyone, I guess, like we want to personalize it. And with things like Tableau, you can't really go into it. You can only visualize what they provide you. Mm-hmm. And with D3, it's quite difficult because you have to learn all the programming. But with Carto, you have the possibility to interact with the interface and also see the code. So, and well, then you have for network, you have Giphy and other. You have actually already tools for everything.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Perfect, thank you. And the other one will be dashboards are cheap. Okay. Mm-hmm. How much time should I allocate to storytelling prep versus analysis?
Sorry, how much time should I allocate to visual storytelling preparation and analysis? Wow, well, this depends on a lot of factors, I would say. In my opinion, it's more important, we call it the UX factor of visualization, and this is actually today more important than the creation. Because most of the time what we see is they create dashboards, but nobody uses them because they just get lost. So right now, for example, it's the first time that I got also jobs just to do visual storytelling. They have the visualizations and they want me to not redo them, but to say what's good and what's bad. Mm-hmm. This is quite new, I think, in this field. I don't know. It depends a lot on the project.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you for the questions. I think that there will be some time to talk to Sandra afterwards. So if you will have more questions, just connect with her. Yeah. And I will thank her and say goodbye for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Much. Yeah.
Thank you.